Let me ask you something. How long have you been trying to control everything? How long have you been forcing situations, chasing people, fighting timing, and exhausting yourself trying to fix what was never meant to stay? Deep down, you already know something is shifting. You can feel the old version of you cracking, falling away, becoming too small for who you are becoming. And yet you still try to drag it with you, but reality cannot be forced. The harder you push, the more life pushes back. The moment you release control, even slightly, the entire energy of your life begins to move again. This is the moment where you stop clinging to the old story and step into the new you, not through force, through alignment, through trust, through allowing, because what is coming toward you is far greater than what you're trying to hold on to. Stop fighting the direction life is already trying to take you. Most people don't realize this, but a large part of their suffering comes from resisting the natural direction that life is already trying to take them. Life is not always heavy by itself. It becomes heavy when you push against the flow that was meant to guide you forward. Imagine standing in a river. The current is gently trying to carry you towards smoother, calmer waters, but instead of allowing it to move you, you turn around and force yourself to walk against it. Every step becomes harder. Your body becomes tense, you grow tired, frustrated, and angry. And eventually, you start believing that the river itself is your enemy. But the truth is simple. You are the one fighting your own path. This is exactly what many people do in their lives. They hold on to relationships that drain their spirit, jobs that suffocate their potential, routines that feel lifeless, and versions of themselves that no longer match who they have become. They stay where they don't belong. Not because it is good for them, but because the familiar feels safer than the unknown. Life never changes suddenly without warning. It always begins with subtle signs. At first, you feel a whisper, a quiet discomfort, a gentle tug inside you, telling you that something no longer fits. You may start losing interest in conversations you used to enjoy. Parts of your routine begin to feel heavier, or you realize that certain people no longer give you peace. If you ignore that whisper, life sends a nudge. Maybe a situation becomes more stressful, a connection becomes difficult to maintain, or your environment feels too small, as if you have outgrown it. And if you still don't pay attention, life sends a push. This push may come as an ending, a breakup, a job loss, a betrayal, a sudden shift, or a moment that forces you out of the place you refuse to leave on your own. Although the push feels painful, it is never a punishment, it is a redirection. The most powerful transformation in your life begins the moment you allow yourself to stop forcing the old to stay alive. When something is meant to end, no amount of effort can make it work again. And when something new is meant to enter your life, you cannot block it forever. Your inner energy always shifts before your external reality does. You start feeling different without knowing why. You crave more peace. You want different conversations. You seek deeper meaning. You lose interest in old habits. This is your soul evolving. Even when your logical mind doesn't understand it, your intuition does. That inner voice, the soft but steady guidance within you, always feels the shift before anything changes on the outside. It tells you to move differently, think differently, or let go of something you've been holding on to for too long. But because this voice speaks in feelings rather than logic, you doubt it. You question yourself. You stay in situations long after your soul has already moved on. When you resist this inner guidance, you create inner conflict. Your energy moves in one direction, but your actions move in the opposite. You feel stuck, drained, frustrated, or confused because you are forcing yourself to remain in a chapter that has already ended. The moment you stop resisting, the moment you stop swimming against the current and allow life to guide you, the heaviness begins to fade. You start noticing signs that were always there. People showing up at the right time, opportunities appearing without pressure, ideas flowing naturally instead of being forced. Life begins to feel lighter because you are no longer fighting what is trying to unfold. This is not random. This is not luck. This is alignment. Alignment means your inner energy and your outer actions finally match. Alignment means you trust your intuition instead of silencing it. Alignment means you stop fighting the path that was meant for you and start walking with it. When you surrender the old, you create space for things that are truly meant for you. When you let go of what is fading, you make room for something more aligned to enter. And when you allow yourself to move in the direction life is guiding you, you discover that the things you once chased now come toward you effortlessly. Because when you stop resisting, life finally begins to open. Flow is stronger than force. Most people grow up believing that the only way to succeed is through force. Push harder, try more, work endlessly, fight every obstacle, and treat life like a battlefield where only pressure creates progress. But as you grow wiser, you begin to realize something very different. Force is not strength. Force is fear disguised as effort. Force is the belief that everything must happen exactly the way you want and exactly when you want, or else it will never happen at all. When you live with this mindset, you spend your days in tension. You chase things that run away from you. You try to control situations you don't understand. You hold on to people who are already drifting away. You try to fix what is no longer meant to stay. And slowly, you drain your own energy. Flow, on the other hand, is a completely different way of living. Flow does not mean being passive or doing nothing. Flow means moving with life instead of fighting against it. Flow means understanding that there is a natural rhythm to everything: relationships, opportunities, ideas, growth, healing, timing. When you are in flow, you stop forcing outcomes and start allowing things to unfold in the way they are meant to. You stop trying to control every detail and instead pay attention to what feels aligned. Flow is not laziness. Flow is intelligent action. It's knowing when to move, when to pause, when to let go, and when to trust. The mind loves force because force feels like control. But control is often an illusion. You can pressure someone to stay, but you cannot force love. You can push yourself into a career, but you cannot force passion. You can chase money endlessly, but you cannot force peace. Flow teaches you that the right things never require you to hurt yourself to keep them. What is meant for you aligns naturally. It feels open, expansive, and energizing. What is not meant for you feels tight, draining, confusing, and heavy. Force creates resistance. Flow creates clarity. When you enter a flow state in life, you stop asking desperate questions like, "Why isn't this working?" and instead ask, "What is this trying to show me?" That single shift moves you from fear to awareness. Instead of thinking that everything is falling apart, you begin to understand that everything is being rearranged. Instead of panicking when something doesn't happen on your timeline, you begin to trust that delay is protection or preparation. Flow reveals that timing has its own intelligence. Some things need to mature. Some things need to fall apart first. Some things need you to grow before they can enter your life. When you force life, you feel blocked. You feel overwhelmed. You feel stuck no matter how hard you try. But when you move with flow, you begin to notice how effortless some things become. Answers show up without pressure. People appear at the right moment. New opportunities feel like gentle invitations instead of battles you must win. You feel lighter because you are no longer trying to hold together situations that were never stable to begin with. Flow is stronger than force because flow works with energy, not against it. When you are aligned, the universe supports your movement. But when you force what is not aligned, you end up exhausted, frustrated, and confused. Flow brings you closer to your purpose. Force pulls you deeper into resistance. Flow moves you toward peace and clarity. Force traps you in tension and noise. The new you cannot rely on force. The new you grows through flow. You begin to trust your intuition. You begin to read the signals life gives you. You begin to understand that letting go is sometimes the most powerful action you can take. Flow is not about giving up, it is about giving yourself permission to move in the direction that feels right, not the direction that feels familiar. When you step into flow, you discover something life-changing. What is meant for you expands effortlessly, and what is not meant for you fades, no matter how hard you hold on. And once you learn to flow with life, you stop drowning in it. The universe removes what your soul has outgrown. One of the hardest truths to accept in life is that not everything is meant to stay with you forever. People, situations, habits, and even dreams have seasons, yet the human heart loves to hold on, even when holding on creates pain. You may not realize it at first, but the universe has a very clear way of guiding your growth. It removes what you have outgrown, not to punish you, not to hurt you, but to create space for a higher version of your life. The problem is that the mind interprets every removal as loss, every ending as failure, and every separation as something going wrong. But in reality, something is going right. Something is shifting, evolving, and making room for the next chapter that your soul is ready for, even if your mind isn't. Think about how a tree grows. Before new leaves can appear, the old ones must fall. Before the branches can reach higher, the dead parts must break away. Nature does not cling to what has completed its purpose, and neither should you. But humans cling because familiarity feels safe. Even if something is draining you or limiting you, at least you know it. And because you know it, you convince yourself to tolerate it. That is why the universe often steps in when you refuse to step forward. It removes the people you no longer align with. It ends connections that would only hold you back. It closes doors that your own fear kept open. It disrupts routines that were quietly suffocating your growth. It shakes the situations you were staying in only because you were afraid to begin again. You may feel shocked when something suddenly collapses, but collapse is not chaos, it is correction. Every ending carries information. When something leaves your life, it leaves because it has served its purpose. Maybe it taught you strength, self-respect, boundaries, patience, or clarity. Maybe it awakened a side of you that had been sleeping. Maybe it showed you a version of yourself you needed to outgrow. And once that lesson is complete, the universe begins to clear the path. Not because you failed, but because you are ready for more than you were settling for. Your intuition always senses these changes before they happen. You feel the shift inside you. Your energy drops around certain people. Conversations feel forced. Environments feel too small. And routines that once comforted you start to feel like cages. That uncomfortable feeling is your soul signaling that you have outgrown something. But instead of listening, the mind tries to negotiate, explain, and rationalize why you should stay exactly where you are. This internal tug-of-war creates stress, anxiety, emotional heaviness, and a deep sense of misalignment. But the moment you stop resisting and allow what is falling away to fall, you create room for what is rising. The universe never removes something from your life without preparing something better. It may not come immediately, and that waiting period is often where people panic. But what you must understand is this: preparation is not punishment. Delays are not denials. That space of nothing yet is where the next version of you is being shaped. You are being rewired emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and energetically for a life that matches your new frequency. If the old were allowed to stay, it would suffocate the version of you that is trying to emerge. You are not meant to shrink yourself to fit into old stories. You are not meant to dim your light to stay in spaces that fear your growth. You are not meant to carry people who refuse to meet you where you are rising. The universe will remove what your soul has outgrown to protect your expansion. Even when it feels harsh, it is an act of alignment. Even when it feels lonely, it is an act of elevation. Even when it feels confusing, it is an act of love. What you lose in these moments is never greater than what you gain after them, because what is coming is always aligned with who you are becoming, not who you used to be. The more you trust this process, the more peaceful your transitions become. And when you finally look back, you realize that every removal was not the end of your life. It was the beginning of the life you were meant to live. Your energy changes before your life does. Every major transformation in your life begins long before anything changes on the outside. What people call a new chapter doesn't start with a new job, a new relationship, a new opportunity, or a sudden breakthrough. It starts inside you quietly, slowly, subtly, long before you ever notice it happening. Your energy shifts first. Your thoughts shift first. Your inner world changes first. Only after that does your outer world begin to rearrange itself. This is why you sometimes feel different without knowing why. You lose interest in people you once chased. You feel drained by conversations that used to excite you. You start craving solitude over noise, clarity over chaos, slow moments over constant distraction. These inner changes are not random. They are signals that you are becoming someone new. Before life upgrades you, it disconnects you from anything that cannot come with you into your next level. That's why people fall away, routines collapse, and your old identity begins to feel too tight, as if you're wearing clothes that no longer fit your spirit. Many people mistake this feeling for sadness or confusion. But it's not sadness, it's evolution. You are shedding an old version of yourself. You are outgrowing mindsets, emotional patterns, and survival habits that were created by your past. And because the mind hates change, this transition can feel uncomfortable. But the discomfort is a sign that your soul is stretching into a bigger space. Your energy is like a magnet. When it shifts, the things you attract naturally shift too. You start being drawn to different ideas, different environments, and different types of people. You begin noticing red flags you once ignored. You start recognizing the emotional weight of certain situations. You feel a strong urge to clean up your life, not only physically, but mentally and spiritually. You may find yourself wanting to declutter your space, cut off unhealthy connections, break toxic patterns, or simply stop entertaining anything that drains your peace. These actions may seem small, but they are powerful. They are the outer expression of an inner transformation. The strangest part is that sometimes nothing looks different on the surface, yet everything feels different inside. This is because your energy is preparing your life before the visible results appear. It's like planting seeds. You don't see the roots growing, but they are growing deeply. You don't see the soil shifting, but it's shifting. You don't see the sprout immediately, but the transformation is already underway. The same thing happens in your life. Your internal shift is the root, your external shift is the sprout, and the sprout can only appear when the roots are strong enough to hold it. This is also why you may experience sudden waves of tiredness, emotional release, or the need to rest more than usual. Your system is realigning. Your intuition becomes louder during this time. You may feel guided towards certain decisions without having logical explanations for them. You may feel a quiet, knowing that you cannot ignore. This inner knowing is your new frequency, forming a signal that your life is preparing to move in a new direction. But many people get stuck here because they expect external results immediately. They want instant change, instant clarity, instant success, instant manifestation. But life does not work that way. Reality always lags behind your energy. The outer world always takes time to catch up to the inner world. This delay is not a sign that nothing is happening. It is a sign that everything is happening exactly as it should. You are being aligned, not ignored. The greatest mistake people make is trying to force old realities to match their new energy. But the new you cannot fit into the old life. The new frequency cannot support old habits. The new mindset cannot survive old environments. When your energy changes, your standards rise, your values shift, your vision expands, your boundaries strengthen, your tolerance for nonsense disappears. And the moment you honor that shift instead of fighting it, the universe begins to rearrange your reality around your new vibration. When you stop trying to drag old situations into your new chapter, you finally create space for everything you've been praying, hoping, and working for. Your energy prepares the path. Your energy attracts the opportunities. Your energy determines the people who enter your life. And your energy shapes the reality you experience. You don't manifest by forcing life to bend to your will. You manifest by becoming a person whose energy is aligned with the life you want. Once that happens, the outer world has no choice but to follow, because your life is nothing more than a reflection of your inner frequency. Change the frequency, and the reality must change. Letting go is not losing, it's alignment. Letting go is one of the most misunderstood experiences in life. Most people think letting go means giving up, surrendering defeat, or walking away from something valuable. But in reality, letting go is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of maturity, clarity, and energetic alignment. You let go, not because you lost something important, but because you finally understand that holding on to the wrong things blocks the right things from entering your life. Letting go is an act of wisdom, not loss. It is the moment you stop trying to force a door to open when it was never meant for you. It is the moment you release emotional weight that your soul can no longer carry. It is the moment you choose peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, alignment over attachment. People hold on for many reasons. Fear of change, fear of starting over, fear of being alone, fear of making the wrong decision. They hold on because the familiar feels safer than the unknown. They hold on because the heart remembers the good times and ignores the pain. They hold on because they believe that with more effort, more sacrifice, more patience, things will magically fix themselves. But life doesn't reward people who cling tightly to what is collapsing. Life rewards those who trust enough to release what no longer grows them. Because when something is meant for you, it doesn't require you to destroy yourself to keep it. What is meant for you will always align naturally. What is not meant for you will always feel forced, heavy, unstable, or emotionally expensive. Letting go is not about abandoning people or opportunities. It is about releasing resistance. It is about freeing your energy from situations that drain your spirit. It is about recognizing that something inside you is evolving, and the life you are meant to create cannot be built on the emotional debris of the past. When you let go, you are not losing anything that belongs to your future. You are simply making space for what is aligned with your next chapter. Life constantly tries to give you signs when it is time to release something. Conversations feel repetitive. The same problems keep resurfacing. Your intuition becomes louder, your peace becomes smaller, and your mind becomes exhausted from trying to hold everything together. These signs are not coincidences, they are messages from your deeper self. But many people silence these signals because letting go feels too scary. They convince themselves to tolerate the discomfort. They tell themselves that things will eventually get better. They wait for the other person to change, for the situation to magically improve, for the pain to somehow disappear. But nothing changes until you do. And the first change often begins with letting go. Letting go is a process, not a single moment. It begins with accepting that something is no longer aligned with your spirit. Then comes the emotional release, the sadness, the confusion, the grieving of what could have been. After that comes the clarity, the realization that you were not losing something, you were being redirected. Finally comes the expansion, a new version of you that has more space, more peace, more energy, and more emotional freedom. This is why letting go feels painful, but eventually brings relief. You are shedding emotional weight that was never meant to stay with you long term. When you let go, you shift your energy. And when your energy shifts, your entire life begins to realign. Opportunities appear that were previously blocked. Health improves because stress decreases. Relationships become healthier because your boundaries become clearer. Creativity flows because your mind is no longer tangled in emotional knots. Even your intuition becomes sharper because you finally create space to hear it. Letting go also teaches you one of the most powerful spiritual lessons. What is meant for you cannot be taken from you. If something is truly aligned with your destiny, it will come, stay, and grow effortlessly. It will not require you to chase it, beg for it, exhaust yourself for it, or suffer to keep it. When you trust this truth, letting go becomes easier. You begin to understand that holding on tightly is often the very thing that blocks your blessings. But when you loosen your grip and allow life to unfold naturally, you make space for something better, to arrive something that actually matches your energy, your values, your growth, and your future. Letting go is not losing. Letting go is clarity. Letting go is protection. Letting go is preparation. Letting go is the universe clearing your path. You don't let go because you are weak. You let go because you are strong enough to trust that what is meant for you will always align, and what is not meant for you cannot stay no matter how tightly you hold it. The more you release what drains you, the more you make room for what elevates you. And once you taste the peace that comes with alignment, you never again feel tempted to force anything in your life. Your next level requires a new frequency. Every time you grow into a new version of yourself, your energy must evolve before your life does. You cannot enter a higher chapter with the same habits, the same fears, the same mindsets, the same emotional patterns, or the same level of self-awareness you had in your previous chapter. Each level of your life demands a new frequency, a new way of thinking, feeling, responding, and moving through the world. And this is why so many people feel stuck. They try to achieve a higher life with a lower vibration. They want peace, but hold on to chaos. They want clarity, but feed their mind constant noise. They want love, but settle for people who drain them. They want abundance, but think in scarcity. They want transformation, but cling to their old identity. The truth is simple. The new you cannot rise while the old you is still in control. Your frequency is shaped by everything you consume, not just food or media, but the thoughts you entertain, the emotions you hold on to, the people you surround yourself with, and the stories you repeatedly tell yourself. If your inner world is filled with doubt, fear, resentment, comparison, or insecurity, then your frequency dims. That dimness expresses itself as tiredness, misalignment, anxiety, lack of motivation, or feeling like nothing is moving in your favor. But when you raise your frequency through self-awareness, healing, boundaries, discipline, and emotional maturity, your energy becomes lighter, clearer, and more powerful. You begin to attract experiences that match your new level, not your old wounds. Think of your frequency like the signal on a radio. If you stay tuned to an old station, you will only hear old music. You cannot expect new songs to play on a frequency you refuse to leave. That's why your next level requires you to shift internally first. You may need to end a habit that has been quietly draining you for years. You may need to distance yourself from people who keep you repeating the same emotional cycles. You may need to break a mindset that was never yours to begin with, something you inherited from childhood, society, or past trauma. You may need to release a version of yourself that was built for survival, not growth. Your next level also requires emotional discipline. Not everything deserves your reaction. Not every negative thought deserves your attention. Not every fear deserves to guide your decisions. When your frequency rises, you learn to observe your emotions without letting them control you. You learn to respond instead of react. You learn to pause instead of panic. You learn to trust instead of forcing. Raising your frequency also means raising your standards. You begin to choose peace over drama, truth over illusions, consistency over chaos, and self-respect over temporary comfort. You stop bending yourself to fit into places that no longer match who you are becoming. You stop settling for conversations that drain your energy. You stop investing in relationships that leave you emotionally hungry. You stop repeating patterns that keep you stuck at the same level. You stop apologizing for outgrowing people, behaviors, and environments that no longer support your evolution. The universe responds not to your wishes, but to your frequency. You can say you want a better life, but if your energy is filled with doubt, fear, and self-sabotage, your reality will reflect that inner chaos. But when you raise your energy, when you begin making decisions from a place of clarity, integrity, strength, and alignment, you start attracting experiences that match your new frequency. Opportunities open, people show up, synchronicities appear. Life begins to flow with an ease that feels almost magical. But this is not magic, it is alignment. You stepped into the vibration that matches the future you desire. Your next level will also demand that you release your old emotional wounds. You cannot carry resentment into a season that requires forgiveness. You cannot carry fear into a season that requires courage. You cannot carry self-doubt into a season that requires confidence. You cannot carry old pain into a season that demands you to shine with clarity and strength. Healing is not optional for your next level, it is the foundation. And finally, your next level requires faith. Faith in yourself, faith in timing, faith in your intuition, faith in the unseen architecture of your life. You must trust that the version of you who is trying to rise is real. You must trust that your desires are not random, they are signals pointing you in the direction of your destiny. You must trust that you are capable of becoming the person your future requires. The next level of your life is already written. The question is, will you raise your frequency to meet it? Because once you do, nothing can stop the new you from emerging. Your energy will speak louder than your fears. Your clarity will silence your doubts. Your alignment will open doors you once thought were out of reach. And your frequency will build a life that your old self could only imagine. When you stop forcing, you finally receive. There is a strange paradox in life that most people never understand until they have exhausted themselves. The things you chase with desperation run away from you, and the things you allow with trust move naturally toward you. When you are constantly pushing, forcing, begging, proving, or trying to control outcomes, you block the very blessings you are trying to attract. You tense your energy, you tighten your mind, you close your heart, and in that state of pressure, nothing flows. Not love, not success, not clarity, not inspiration, not opportunities, not healing. Forcing life is like gripping water with your fists. The tighter you hold, the faster it slips away. But the moment you relax, the moment you open your hands, the moment you release the need to control everything, life begins to give you what you were searching for all along. Receiving requires space. It requires openness. It requires trust. It requires a mind that is not constantly calculating, a heart that is not constantly fearful, and a soul that is not constantly fighting the natural direction of life. Most people don't receive because they are too busy forcing. They chase relationships instead of creating space for the right connection to enter. They obsess over timing instead of trusting that the right moment arrives when they are truly ready. They fight for opportunities that were never aligned with their path, while ignoring the ones quietly waiting for them. They run behind outcomes that are built on fear, instead of allowing outcomes built on alignment to rise. When you force reality, you operate from a place of lack, the belief that you must control everything because nothing will work out unless you push it. But when you move from alignment, you operate from a place of abundance, the belief that what is meant for you cannot miss you, and what misses you was never meant to stay. This shift in mindset is not small, it completely transforms the way you experience life. The stress decreases, the anxiety fades, the heavy feeling in your chest begins to lighten, and suddenly, life feels softer, more cooperative, more supportive. Not because circumstances changed instantly, but because you changed. When you stop forcing, your intuition becomes louder. You begin to notice signs that were always there but were buried under fear and mental noise. You start recognizing what drains your energy and what replenishes it. You see clearly which people align with your soul and which ones only feed your wounds. You learn that not everything deserves your emotional investment. You begin to understand that some doors remain closed because opening them would take you away from your purpose. And you realize that many delays were not punishments, they were protections. Receiving also requires patience, and patience is not about waiting without discomfort. It is about learning to trust the unseen. It is understanding that you don't need to know every detail, every outcome, every step, or every reason. It is realizing that your inner alignment is more important than external control. When you are energetically ready, the external world adjusts automatically. Opportunities that once seemed impossible begin unfolding. Connections that felt out of reach become accessible. Ideas bloom naturally because your mind is no longer suffocating under pressure. Even your physical reality reorganizes itself around your new frequency. But the greatest transformation happens internally. When you stop forcing, your nervous system relaxes, your mind becomes clearer, your heart becomes softer. You respond to life instead of reacting to it. You make decisions from a place of peace instead of panic. And that is when you step into true receiving, because the universe cannot deliver clarity to a mind filled with chaos, nor can it deliver blessings to a heart filled with fear. When you stop forcing, you begin to attract, not because you're doing nothing, but because your actions are guided, calm, intentional, and aligned. You stop wasting energy on dead ends. You stop chasing people who were never meant to stay. You stop repeating cycles that once trapped you. Instead, you begin to move effortlessly in directions that feel right, where the path opens naturally without resistance. You start living in alignment with your deeper self, the part of you that has always known where you belong, even when your mind doubted it. There comes a moment when you realize that everything you tried to force was actually blocking your elevation. Every unanswered prayer was a redirection. Every closed door was protection. Every delay was preparation. Every ending was a step toward your beginning. And every time something didn't work out, it was because something better was quietly making its way to you. Receiving is not passive, it is powerful. It means choosing trust over fear, intuition over insecurity, alignment over desperation. It means stepping into the version of yourself who knows that what is meant for you will never require you to betray your peace to obtain it. It means understanding that life becomes easier, lighter, and more beautiful the moment you let go of control and allow the natural flow of the universe to guide you. When you stop forcing, you finally make space for the life that is meant for you. And when that space opens, blessings don't just arrive, they overflow. Because what is aligned always comes with ease, clarity, and a sense of calm certainty that no forced situation can ever give you. The moment you stop forcing reality is the moment reality begins to work in your favor. You become unstoppable when you learn to move with life, not against it. There comes a point in your journey where you realize that the most powerful version of you is not the one who fights life at every corner, but the one who understands its rhythm. You begin to see that life is not something you must dominate, push, or force into submission. Life is something you must listen to, feel, and cooperate with. When you start moving with life instead of resisting it, you awaken a strength inside you that is deeper than determination. stronger than motivation, and more stable than willpower. It is the strength of alignment. It is the strength of being in the right place internally, no matter what is happening externally. It is the strength of trusting your path, even when you don't know where it leads. And that strength makes you unstoppable because it comes from within, not from the fragile ego that constantly relies on control, pressure, or force. You become unstoppable when you understand that everything in your life has its own timing, its own unfolding, its own unique way of entering your reality. You stop rushing because you trust that rushing cannot bring what is meant for you any faster, and slowing down cannot push it away. You stop begging for clarity because you understand that clarity arrives when the noise inside you quiets. You stop chasing answers because you realize that answers come when you are patient enough to listen. You stop fearing uncertainty because you know that uncertainty is simply the space where the next version of you is forming. You stop panicking when situations shift because you recognize that shifts are not signs of loss. They are signs that your life is rearranging itself to match your new energy. And as your energy becomes stronger, your eyes open to the patterns you used to ignore. You notice that the days you resist the most are the days you suffer the most. You notice that the moments you relax your grip are the moments things fall into place effortlessly. You notice that forcing outcomes creates emotional tension, physical exhaustion, mental confusion, and spiritual disconnect. But flowing with life brings clarity, ease, inspiration, inner peace, and a sense of rightness that you can feel but cannot fully explain. This is because force comes from fear, while flow comes from trust. Fear contracts your energy, trust expands it. Fear closes doors, trust opens them. Fear makes you doubt the path, trust helps you walk it. You become unstoppable when you stop fighting your journey and start understanding its deeper purpose. Every challenge you face trains a different part of your spirit. Every delay teaches patience, preparation, and emotional maturity. Every disappointment redirects your path towards something that aligns more deeply with your truth. Every ending clears space for a beginning that would not fit into your old life. When you reach this level of awareness, you no longer ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, you ask, "What is this preparing me for?" And that single shift in perspective changes everything. You stop resisting reality and begin participating in its unfolding. You stop trying to control the future and begin shaping it through your inner alignment. You stop living from fear and begin living from purpose. This is when the new you rises, not through pressure, not through overthinking, not through fear, and not through emotional chaos. The new you rises through surrender, clarity, wisdom, and trust. You start recognizing which battles are worth fighting and which ones drain your soul. You stop arguing with people who don't hear you. Stop proving yourself to those who don't value you. Stop chasing people who don't choose you. Stop forcing plans that no longer match who you are becoming. Instead, you move in silence, you grow in depth, you evolve in peace, and you let your energy speak louder than your words. You realize that your life becomes powerful not when everything goes your way, but when your energy stays steady regardless of what comes and goes. And the most beautiful part, when you reach this level of alignment, you no longer feel the desperate need to force anything. You know that what is meant for you flows toward you with ease. You know that the right people come without pressure. You know that the right opportunities feel natural, not forced. You know that abundance meets you when your energy is open and receptive. You know that peace stays with you when you stop clinging to things that disturb it. You know that the universe never shuts a door without preparing another one to open. And because you know these truths so deeply, you begin to walk through life with a quiet confidence, the kind that does not shout, does not chase, and does not fear, the kind that simply knows. When you learn to move with life, not against it, you stop surviving and start living. You stop resisting and start receiving. You stop fearing and start understanding. And at that moment, you become a version of yourself who does not need to force anything. A version of yourself who is guided. A version of yourself who is aligned. A version of yourself who is unstoppable. Surrender is the gateway to the life you've been trying to build. There is a moment in every person's journey when they finally understand that surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is not defeat, it is direction. It is not giving up, It is giving in to the deeper intelligence that has always been guiding your life from underneath the surface. Surrender does not mean you stop working, stop dreaming, or stop taking action. Surrender means you stop trying to bend reality into your personal timeline and instead learn to cooperate with the natural unfolding of your destiny. It means releasing the illusion that you alone must carry the weight of your entire future. Surrender is powerful because it removes the emotional resistance that blocks your blessings. It opens your energy, it softens your fears, it quiets your mind, and in that quietness, you finally hear what life has been trying to tell you for years. Most people spend their lives fighting invisible battles that only exhaust them. They fight their feelings instead of understanding them. They fight their circumstances instead of learning from them. They fight the timing of their life instead of trusting it. They fight for people who are not meant to stay. They fight to keep situations alive that have already served their purpose. They fight the natural endings that are trying to make space for new beginnings. This constant inner battle drains your energy and creates heaviness in your heart. But when you surrender, you stop using your life force to resist what is already happening. Instead, you redirect that energy into aligning with what is meant for you. You stop pushing the river and finally allow the water to carry you where you were always meant to go. Surrender is powerful because it brings clarity that force can never create. When you force outcomes, your mind becomes clouded with fear, expectations, and overthinking. You become blind to signs, disconnect from your intuition, and confuse noise for guidance. But when you surrender, you create space for understanding. You begin to see patterns you were too stressed to notice. You begin to feel truths you once ignored. You begin to recognize doors that are opening and doors that were always closed for your protection. Surrender gives you the inner stillness to hear the whispers of your path. People fear surrender because they think it means losing control. But the truth is that most of the control you believe you have is an illusion. You cannot control who stays. You cannot control who understands you. You cannot control how people treat you. You cannot control the timing of opportunities. You cannot control how the universe arranges your life. What you can control is your energy, your decisions, your mindset, your habits, your boundaries, your intentions, and your willingness to grow. And once you focus on the things you can control, the things you cannot control begin to align naturally. This is the magic of surrender. It creates balance between effort and trust, action and patience, movement and stillness. Surrender is not passive. It is an active choice to stop fighting the lessons that life is trying to teach you. It is understanding that when something is meant for you, you will not need to lose your peace to keep it. It is recognizing that if something requires you to constantly force, chase, or struggle for it, it is not aligned with your higher path. Surrender means letting go of battles that only steal your peace. It means releasing people who cannot meet you where you are rising. It means allowing timelines to unfold without fear. It means trusting that the universe is never late. It is precise, intentional, and infinitely wiser than your fears. Surrender is also acceptance, not acceptance as in giving up, but acceptance as in, I trust the deeper purpose behind what I cannot yet see. Acceptance softens your resistance. Resistance keeps you stuck in cycles. Acceptance frees you from them. When you accept the present moment instead of fighting it, your anxiety decreases because you are no longer battling reality. Your mind relaxes, your heart opens, your energy becomes receptive. And this is exactly when the things you were trying to force begin to flow toward you effortlessly. Surrender is where miracles happen. It is where unexpected opportunities appear, where clarity arrives, where healing begins, where intuition becomes louder, and where the path forward becomes visible. It is where you finally receive the life you were building with so much force. Because the universe will never deliver blessings into a closed, tense, fearful energy. It delivers to those who are open, trusting, aligned, and ready. Surrender does not mean doing nothing. It means doing what you can and trusting life with what you cannot. It means letting go of fear-based timelines and moving with the timing of your soul. It means trusting that delays are not denials, they are preparations. It means believing that every ending is a redirection towards something better. It means walking through life with a quiet confidence, knowing that you do not need to chase what is already on its way to you. When you finally surrender, life begins to move in ways you never imagined. Things that once felt impossible become natural. People who match your new frequency enter your life with ease. Opportunities that were blocked begin to unlock. The heaviness in your spirit dissolves. And you step into a version of yourself who no longer forces, no longer fears, and no longer fights what is meant to help you evolve. Because surrender is not losing control. Surrender is stepping into alignment with the life that has been waiting for you. And when you surrender deeply, completely, and wholeheartedly, you rise into a level of peace and power that no amount of force could ever create. At some point in your life, you reach a moment when you finally understand that you were never meant to live in constant resistance. You were not created to chase everything, control everything, force everything, or carry the entire world on your shoulders. You were created to experience the flow of life, to move with your inner wisdom, to trust your intuition, and to step into each chapter with a heart that is open instead of clenched with fear. All the lessons you just heard lead to one powerful truth. Your life becomes extraordinary the moment you stop fighting it. Every transformation you seek, every blessing you pray for, every opportunity you hope to receive, all of it begins the moment you release your grip. When you stop forcing, you stop draining your spirit. You stop chasing what was never aligned. You stop repeating painful cycles. You stop carrying people who were never meant to walk your entire journey with you. You stop settling for timelines that suffocate your growth. And a strange, beautiful thing happens. The universe begins to move on your behalf. Life starts opening the right doors. The wrong people fade away effortlessly. Paths become clear that used to feel impossible. You begin to feel guided instead of confused. You begin to feel supported instead of alone. You begin to feel aligned instead of lost. And this is not because the world magically changed, it is because you did. Your energy shifted, your frequency elevated, your mind softened, your heart opened, and life responded to that shift with precision. The truth is, you were never stuck. You were simply resisting the direction life was trying to take you. The new you, the version of yourself rising right now, cannot exist inside the old patterns you once lived in. This new you is calmer. This new you is wiser. This new you is aligned with intuition. This new you no longer chases validation, no longer begs for love, no longer forces opportunities, and no longer fears endings. This new you understands that what is meant to stay will stay effortlessly, and what is meant to leave will leave without needing to be pushed. This new you is not fragile. This new you is powerful because they trust the flow instead of fighting it. And now, you stand at the doorway of a new chapter. Not a chapter created from fear or pressure, but a chapter built from alignment, clarity, and inner peace. You are no longer the person who wakes up every day battling life. You are the person who wakes up ready to cooperate with life, ready to listen to your intuition, ready to honor your energy, ready to follow the path that feels right in your spirit even if it scares your mind, ready to let things unfold naturally, trusting that you are always being guided toward what is meant for you. If there is one message you must carry with you after this, stop forcing, start allowing. Stop gripping so tightly that life cannot move. Stop clinging to what is trying to end. Stop fearing the unknown. Stop doubting your inner voice. Stop delaying your growth because you are afraid of discomfort. And start trusting the whispers of your soul. Start honoring the shifts within you. Start releasing what drains your spirit. Start walking toward the life that matches your new frequency. Start believing that you deserve a reality that feels peaceful, aligned, and expansive. Because once you let go of force and enter the flow, you finally receive what has been trying to reach you. You become the version of yourself you were always meant to be, and you step into a life that does not feel heavy or chaotic, but calm, clear, aligned, and filled with purpose. This is the life that is waiting for you. This is the life your new energy is calling in. This is the life you unlock when you stop forcing and let the energy move you. The new you has arrived.